Hi all, today we are going to revise the chapter Polynomials of class 10. So, let's see the most important topics in this chapter. So, mainly there are three topics in this chapter, that is meaning of zeros of a polynomial, geometric meaning which covers graphs and all, relation between zeros and coefficients. Okay, so what is a polynomial? So, we know that anything which can be written in the form ax plus b or ax square plus bx plus c. Let us write x square minus 5x plus 6. Let us take this quadratic equation x square minus 5x plus 6. Is this an example of polynomial? Yes, this is an example of a polynomial of second degree because the power of x is 2 here. X plus 5. Is this a polynomial? Yes, it is an example of linear polynomial, or here the power is 1. X cube plus 3x square plus 4x minus 3. This is an example of cubic polynomial because here the power is, highest power of x is 3. So, you can say this is an example of cubic polynomial. So, polynomials can be divided into three, that is linear, quadratic, linear and cubic. You only have to study up to cubic here in this chapter. Okay. So, these are the polynomials which we are covering in this chapter. Okay. That is linear polynomial where the degree of the power is 1, then quadratic where the degree of power is 2 and cubic where the degree of power is 3. So, let us classify these polynomials first on the basis of degree. Okay. So, it is linear polynomial, quadratic and cubic. X plus 3 is an example of linear polynomial, 2x square plus 5x plus 3, anything which have a power of 2, the highest degree of power should be 2 in this polynomial. Okay. For cubic we can write x cube minus 3x square plus 2x plus 5, anything like this. Then polynomial is divided on the basis of number of terms. Trinomial means 3 or more terms, binomial means 2 terms, monomial means single term. So, 2x is an example of a monomial, 2x square plus 3 is an example of binomial, 3x square plus 2x plus 1 is an example of trinomial because there will be 3 terms in trinomial and 2 terms in binomial, that is all. So, polynomial of degree 1, 2 and 3 are called linear, quadratic and cubic respectively. The quadratic polynomial can have at most 2 zeros and cubic polynomial can have at most 3 zeros. Okay, now let us look at what are zeros. So, let us take polynomial. So, the linear polynomial will be in the form, p of x will be in the form, general form will be ax plus b. Okay. Here let us take an example as 2x plus 1. Let us take p of x is equal to 2x plus 1. So, 0 of this polynomial means for what value of x, if you substitute a value for x, this whole term should become 0. So, for what value of 2x plus 1 will this expression become 0? If you substitute for what value of x, this whole expression should become 0. So, 2x plus 1 should become 0, that is 2x should become minus 1. So, x will be minus 1 by 2. So, if you substitute x is equal to minus 1 by 2, this p of x will become what? 0. It is known as what? The number of zeros. So, for a linear, that is expression of the form ax plus b, the maximum number of zeros will be 1. Okay. So, for quadratic polynomial in the form, that is quadratic polynomial will be in the form P of x is equal to ax square plus bx plus c. So here the maximum number of zeros will be 2. Here in the case of cubic it will be ax cube plus bx square plus cx plus d. So here the number of zeros, at most number of zeros will be 3. Okay. We will do an example of quadratic also here. Okay, take an example, x square plus 7x plus 12. Okay. So what will be the zeros here? You have to split this, that is, you have to find the values of x for which the whole equation p of x becomes 0. Okay. So let's substitute or let's factorize this, that is x plus, that is x square plus 3x plus 4x plus 12. Take the common terms outside, that is x into if you take the common terms, that is x into x plus 3 plus here take, here 4 is common, no, so 4 into x plus 3 which is equal to x plus 3 is common. Now we will have x plus 3 into x plus 4. So this will be our final. So if we substitute x is equal to minus 3 and x is equal to minus 4, you will get what? You will get the zeros. Okay. For x is equal to minus 3 and x is equal to minus 4, you will get the equation p of x is equal to x square plus 7x plus 12 as what? As this will be the zeros. Okay. Now let us move to the next topic, linear polynomial. We already said the general form of linear polynomial is ax plus b, where a is the coefficient of x and b is the constant term. The coefficients are a and b, zeros. So what will be the zero? In the case of 2x plus 1, we told that if we substitute a value for x and this whole expression becomes 0, so that is known as the zero of this polynomial. Here alpha is known as the zero of the polynomial. In this case, what is alpha? It is minus 1 by 2. If we substitute minus 1 by 2, this whole expression becomes 0. So here this alpha, this minus 1 by 2 is known as alpha. So relationship between 0 and the coefficients. So if the coefficients are given, we can find the zeros, that is alpha from the equation. So what is the equation? Alpha is equal to minus b by a. Maximum number of zeros 1. So just take this equation, let us look at here. Here a is 2 and b is 1 in this case. So how we will find alpha? Alpha is equal to minus b by a. So what is b here? Here a is 2 and b is 1. So take minus 1 by 2. It will be the answer. Maximum number of zeros, that is 1. So in case of linear polynomial, the maximum number of zeros will be 1. Example 2x plus 1. Here we already did it. Okay. In quadratic polynomial, the general form will be ax square plus bx plus c. The coefficients are a, b and c. Number of zeros will be alpha and beta. Here you will get maximum 2 zeros. Okay. Maximum number of zeros will be 2. So the general equation or relationship between zeros and the coefficients are alpha plus beta is equal to minus b by a and alpha beta is equal to c by a. So let us do an just solve a problem. From here alpha beta is equal to minus b by a and alpha beta is equal to c by a. So what is a, b, c here? A is 1 because the coefficient of x square is 1 then B is 7, the coefficient of x term, and C is 12. So we have to find alpha plus beta, that is minus B by A. Here B is 7, it will be minus 7 by 1, which is equal to minus 7. In the case of alpha beta, it will be C by A, where C is 12, it will be 12 by A is 1, that is 12. Okay. Next one, in the quadratic itself, we are moving to the graph. We learned that if it is in U shape upwards, then the quadratic, the coefficient of A is greater than 0, that is coefficient of A is, just take an equation 2x square plus 5x minus 3. Here the coefficient of x is greater than 0, that is 2 is greater than 0. That is why the graph will be upwards. For the equation minus 2x square plus 5x minus 3. What is the coefficient of x? Here the coefficient of x is minus 2. So minus 2 is less than 0. If the coefficient of x is less than 0, then the graph will be downward. Okay. An example is given, minus 7x square plus 7 plus x plus 7. So just keep this in mind. If the coefficient is positive, then it will be upward. If the coefficient is negative, that is less than 0, it will be downwards. Just keep that in mind. For if you do positive things, you will go up, that is upward. If you do negative things, the result will be negative, that is downwards, you will fall. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Cubic polynomial. So general form is ax cube plus bx square plus cx plus d. Coefficient a, b, c and d, that is coefficient of x cube is a, x square is b, coefficient of x is c, and coefficient of d is taken as d. Then the number of zeros will be alpha, beta and gamma, that is 3 number of 0 will be, maximum number of zeros will be 3. Just look at the graph. Here the number of points which intersect the x-axis is known as what? Number of zeros. In this case, the number of points, number of times this graph intersects the x-axis, it will be the number of zeros. In this case, it is intersecting 3 times. So the number of zeros will be 3. So in the previous case, here the number of times, in case of quadratic equation, the number of times the graph intersects the x-axis is 2, that is maximum number of zeros will be 2. So what will be in the case of linear? Here it is a straight line, it is intersecting only one time, so the maximum number of zeros will be 1. So by looking at the graph, you can come to the conclusion that to find the number of zeros, just look how many times it is cutting the zeros or intersecting the x-axis to get the number of zeros. We will come to that. Okay. So here relation between zeros and coefficient, that is alpha plus beta plus gamma is minus b by a, alpha beta plus beta gamma plus gamma alpha is c by a, alpha beta gamma is equal to minus d by a. Just don't by heart any formulas. Okay. So in the case of linear polynomial, it was minus b by a. In quadratic, it was alpha plus beta was minus b by a and alpha beta was c by a. Similarly, in the case of cubic polynomial, alpha plus beta plus gamma, that the first thing is minus b by a. They are similar. Then alpha beta plus beta gamma plus gamma alpha is c by a, which is similar as the alpha beta in case of quadratic polynomial. In the case of alpha beta gamma, that is minus d by a. Here you are learning a new thing. Okay. The rest equations are similar. Okay. An example is given. From here you can find what is alpha beta gamma or alpha plus beta plus gamma. Okay. Just find that equations. Find the 3 coefficients from this equation. Just solve this. Okay. Next we will move to the graph. the zeros of a polynomial p of x are precisely the x coordinate of the points where the graph y is equal to p of x intersects the x axis. This is nothing but, just look in this graph, here in the x coordinate, here in this x axis, this line intersects at the x axis. How many times? Just one time. So here the degree of polynomial will be what? 1. Just check here. Here the point intersect 2 times. So here the degree of polynomial will be 2. In this case 1, 2, 3. So here the degree will be 3. So this is an example of what? First degree polynomial, second degree polynomial, third degree polynomial. Straight line which intersects only one time. This is an example of linear polynomial. Here the degree of polynomial is 1. Okay, just look here, only intersect at one point, which is first degree. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here the maximum number of intersection in the x axis is 4. So in a given graph, if a graph is given, so if you are given a graph, the number of times, if this graph, this line intersects this graph in the x axis, okay, just look how many times it intersect the x axis. It touches here 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 times it is intersecting or touching the x axis. So this will be the degree. If the graph is like this, how many times it's touching the x axis? 1 time. So the degree will be 1. If it is touching like this, how many times? 1, 2, 3. So here the degree will be 3. Just tell me what will be the degree. Here it is not touching the x axis. So there will be no zeros. It should touch the x axis to get the zeros. If it is not touching, there will be no zeros. Okay. So just do this problem, find the number of zeros of p of x. Here just look how many times it's touching the x axis. So in this case the number of times this graph touches the x axis is 1. So the number of zeros will be 1. Okay. If one zero of a quadratic polynomial is x square plus 3x plus k is 2. So we don't know alpha is given as 2 or alpha or beta, 1 0 is given as 2. Find the value of k. So from here you have to find the value of k. So this is p of x is given as 3x plus 2. So we know that if you substitute for 2, that is p of 2, it will be 0. Okay. So p of 2 is nothing but, substitute 2 for x, that is 2 square plus 3 into 2 plus k is 0. That is 4 plus 6 plus k is 0. That is 10 plus k is 0. K is nothing but minus 10. Substitute 2 for x, then equate it to 0 because it is the 0 and you will get the final answer as 10. That's all. If alpha beta are the zeros of a polynomial p of x is equal to x square plus x minus 1, then 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta is equal to. So 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta. If you get such questions, don't get confused or don't get stressed. Okay, you already studied what is alpha beta and what is alpha plus beta. Okay, so you will be thinking that I have not studied what is 1 by alpha and 1 by beta. Don't worry, you already know what will be 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta. It is nothing but beta plus alpha by alpha beta. You already know the equations, substitute it. This is nothing but minus b by a and this is c by a. So from here you will get a as 1, b as 1 and c as minus 1. Substitute the values. So if you substitute for b, that is you have to get minus b by a for alpha plus beta. Alpha plus beta is nothing but minus b by a. So here b is 1, that is minus of 1 by a is 1, that is minus 1. So you got what is alpha plus beta. Now find alpha beta. Alpha beta is nothing but c by a. Substitute for the value of c and a. C is minus 1 and a is 1. So it will be minus 1 by 1, which is minus 1. Now you got what is alpha plus beta as minus 1, and here you know alpha beta is also minus 1. So minus 1 by 1 is 1. So the answer will be 1. Similarly, solve this problem. 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta minus alpha beta. First you find what is 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta. So you will get a value here, subtract it from alpha beta, which you already found. Okay. So you will get the final answer as 15 by 4 something. You will get somewhat like this, answer like this. Okay, that's all. So study well. Don't worry, this is a simple chapter. Okay, keep that in mind. So just study what is zeros, then how we will find the degree from the given polynomial, then geometric mean, that is graph. If it is if a line or graph is cutting the x-axis, the number of times it cuts the x-axis is the maximum number of zeros of that polynomial. Okay, not the maximum number of, the number of zeros of the given. Then relation between zeros and coefficient. Okay, in the case of first degree, that is linear polynomial, you have to find what is alpha, that is minus b by a. In the second case, you have to find what is alpha beta, alpha plus beta and alpha beta, that is minus b by a and c by a. In the third case, you have to find what is alpha beta gamma, alpha beta plus gamma beta plus beta gamma, and so on. Okay, don't worry, you can score more in this chapter. It's a simple chapter. Okay, have a nice day and write the exam well. Okay, have a nice day.